but this is not looking at any extra work that the student has to do, any work experience or any placements. So accumulating all of that, it can take at least 6 or 7 years to qualify. And this reminds me of times when, after I finished my degree, people always ask me, "Are you a lawyer yet?" or "How long have you got, to qualify?" And they come up to me with like their legal problems. And I'm like, "I'm not qualified to answer yet. Don't do me." And at this point, I would raise the example of medical students, and I would ask, upon the 5-year completion of medical school, does that then qualify them to become heart surgeons or neurosurgeons or do any sort of orthopedic surgery? Of course not. Why? Because they still have such a long journey to go in terms of training and practical experience, which is why they do the foundation year 1 and year 2, I guess. Obviously people don't become registrars and consultants overnight. That's the work of 15 or more years of sweat and hard work. It's the same theory for law. The barristers that I work with have been practicing in their expertise for less than 15, 25 years. So it's shocking how much I still have to do, but I take that as a lesson. Okay, before I bring my presentation to an end, I thought it would be interesting to just mention something about the wigs and robes, which I have worn, and the wigs are extremely itchy and the robes are too big for me. Not funny. So, the history of the robe goes back to the medieval times, and it was after King Charles II's death in the 16th century that the bar went into a period of mourning, and since then the tradition has never been broken, so they've always worn the robe. The wig was also brought from King Charles II when he came back from France, and he brought back with him the trend of the periwig. And then, barristers just adopted it in English courts in 1663.
Yeah. Yeah, time is very good.
I was rushing up.
No, of course. Yeah. So well, we can find that's very good.
Be a good lawyer one day.
Yeah. I was thinking of that actually. That's a few days ago. I was reading something like this. Someone asked me, who is a good lawyer and who is a great lawyer? And then the answer was, the good lawyer is the one who knows the law, and the great lawyer is the one who knows the job. Okay, with that, it's very interesting actually about the profession, coming up with these sort of
muting. Now, I have a feeling what that means in Nepali, but let me just assure you that's no why doing courtroom. Absolutely not. No. Muting is an extremely intense and nerve-wracking activity for a law student. It's a mock moot court. Students are given legal scenarios, whether it be negligence or criminal, and they take the role of counsel, and in front of a panel of judges you have to present your oral arguments. But it's more than just regurgitating your submissions. You have to keep in mind that if it's a criminal case, you have to address the jury, your fellow counsel, the defendant, the claimant, yourself. So that's the training that law students are literally thrown into as soon as you start in the first year. And it just gives the idea to the students of how the court cases progressed and the etiquette involved in doing so. Venues for moot trials depends really on what subject it's on. I mean, recently I've been based on the Royal Courts of Justice for my criminal cases and the Fox Court Tribunal for civil cases. But it can also be a campus room in university or other tribunals or magistrates or crown courts. I remember when I came out of college and I went to my careers advisor, and then I said to her, what can make me stand out? Because all I knew is to go into law, the competition that I face. So as soon as I finished college, she said to me, yes, of course, a 2-1 or a first is essential, but what do you do out of that? Employers want to know you have the skills if you're launched into a particular area of expertise, if you're going to hit the ground running. Because employers these days really don't have time to train you from the ground. They want you to have the full package, unfortunately. So I took this advice as my holy grail, and I ensured to keep maintaining an active work experience record. So during my first year, I worked for the Innocence Project. Now, the Innocence Project is a national litigation and public policy organisation designed to exonerating wrongful convictions through DNA testing and the reform of criminal legal justice system due to the miscarriage of justice. Students become involved in real criminal cases, obviously supervised by academics and lawyers. And the aim of the project is to ensure alleged wrongful convictions and for them to obtain a referral back to the Court of Appeal through the Criminal Cases Review Commission. Now, miscarriages of justice can arise in a number of ways. They can be either procedural mistakes during the administration of the case. It can be a misdirection by the judge, for example, on how they direct the jury on reaching their verdicts. Admissibility of certain evidence that should have been excluded, or non-disclosure of evidence. It can even be false or incorrect witness statements caused by duress or just somebody just lying. And of course, errors in forensic evidence and medical opinions. Sometimes even the facts of the case don't even constitute the crime that's been committed, or there's been a statutory bar on prosecution that has been completely disregarded. I've also worked during my second year at a commercial firm in which I was given the opportunity of attending client meetings and preparing documents to go to court. And for my final year, I went abroad for a year, 6 months in Germany in Mannheim University and 6 months in Belgium in Leuven University, studying human rights, international criminal justice and EU law. Right, the Roots of Qualification. As you know, there's two types of lawyers, solicitors and barristers. But first of all, university law degree is the most adaptable of academic qualifications. People with diverse career plans study law. For example, many world leaders are lawyers, for example, Barack Obama. But other law graduates such as Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, Darren Brown, Gabby Logan, Gerard Butler chose different careers. But to become a lawyer, after the LLB, if you want to become a barrister, you have to do the bar professional training course and then a 2-year pupillage. To be a solicitor, it's the LLB degree, then the legal practice course, and then a 2-year training contract. This has been quite recent. I'll just give you a brief history of the legal profession. So even though terms and forms of law have been in existence for thousands of years in many nations, the professional legal advocacy trend hasn't really started it's a more recent phenomenon, and it has its roots in ancient Greece, and then it's travelled on to the Middle Ages, and then up to our current society. The ancient Grecian period recognised the first advocates who practiced their craft. They consisted of intellectuals who considered to have wisdom based on human affairs. And Greek law stated that each individual person is responsible for bringing their own case in front of the Greek assembly. However, this mandate was eroded because people started to request representation from others they knew and trusted. However, despite this progression in advocacy, they still weren't allowed to obtain any fees for their services. This changed in the Roman Empire in the 1st century, where the legal profession began to manifest itself with reflections of what we know today. Emperor Claudius instituted a law which actually allowed the profession to obtain fees for their services. The Middle Ages witnessed a disappearance of the legal profession for a temporary period of time between AD 500 to AD 1000. The resurrection of the legal profession didn't really occur again until the mid-1200s. With the declaration and development of the Magna Carta in the year 1225, a legal-based system of rights was given to the broader population. This was the first flicker of rights and privileges granted to the public based on the law of the land. With the rise of Protestant Reformation and additional control moved away from egotistical Roman Catholic Church, civil legal structures and institutions were developed where the profession and practice of the law was in accordance and adherence to educational and ethical standards. And in the 17th century, with the dissolution of the powers long possessed by the monarchies and the emergence of the American Revolution, the need for legal advocacy and experts in law grew substantially. The establishment and growth of democratic institutions gave greater rights to citizens and a more equal standing against the law. The legal profession witnessed its greatest period of intense growth, and a system of legal organizations and structures continued to grow, including provisions for fees, procedures, and licensing. Now, people often ask me why I chose to do law and not, medicine or engineering or something else. And although in some groups of people it is construed as a dull discipline pursued by the ethically dubious, as far as my academics have taken me and as far as I'm qualified to advocate, all I can say is that it's a spellbindingly varied topic which affects every cell of human life. Law governs everything from the food and drink we consume, our travel, family relationships, property, sport, employment, health, and education. It's this idea of being involved in the very bedrock of our ever-changing society that made me just fascinated about the topic, which is why I embarked on the LLB law degree, and as soon as I studied it, I just fell in love with the study. Law has this sort of mystical way of absorbing one into this whole other reality, and you almost become the lawyer. The law, it doesn't teach you just the academic part of being a lawyer. It teaches you what it means to be a good lawyer, what that value is in our society. So students get the opportunity of studying core modules such as tort, contract, criminal, land, EU and equity, and then later on you get to choose from other interesting topics like medical law, jurisprudence, child law, human rights, commercial law and intellectual property. So as I mentioned before,